welcome to this third episode of TACTALK. This is our third episode. We're just going to jump right into this. Last week we left off talking about suspicious observers, Michael Steinbacher, the Thunderbolts Project, space weather, things like that. Well, since we had some current events going on, excuse me, I'm going to go ahead and read an article from My Northwest. I'm a big fan of Cairo radio station here in Seattle, Washington, the Dori Monson show. He is a big pro-gun advocate. He kind of does see through the BS that's happening here in our state when it comes to our Attorney General Bob Ferguson and our state governor Jay Inslee when it comes to their attempts and their agenda on punishing law-abiding citizens in order to push their gun agenda. So Dori Monson's a really good 97.3 Cairo radio host that speaks boldly and loudly against their agenda and points out the audacity that they have when it comes to these attempts at legislating, law-abiding citizens and, putting criminals not behind bars, but further down away from the law of justice and the hand of justice so that more law-abiding citizens can be punished for something that they didn't even know was a law to begin with. So I'm going to go read this article right now. It's called 8 Shootings Reported in Western Washington Wednesday, written September 20th, 2018, 11:47 a.m. A total of 8 shootings were counted throughout Western Washington on Wednesday. Investigators in Snohomish and King counties are still trying to find suspects who pulled the triggers in separate incidents. This all happened the same day, said Sergeant Ryan Abbott with the King County Sheriff's Office. Seems like a really high number. Yeah, of course, it's scary. The 8 shootings all happened within 12 hours Wednesday. 2 people were killed and 5 were injured. Another shooting happened in Seattle's Northgate neighborhood on Tuesday, and another in Renton, making the count 10 shootings between Tuesday and Wednesday. King County. 4 people were detained Wednesday after reports of a shooting near Seattle's Cleveland High School. In the Beacon Hill area around noon, 4 schools were placed into lockdown after the shots were fired at the school. The incident is related to a carjacking. Now, obviously, this is going to be an attempt again on once again that, in Seattle, how could this happen? Our gun laws are so strict. How can this just randomly happen? Moving on, a district representative says students reported hearing gunfire during their lunch break. A 16-year-old boy ran to the school and reported he was carjacked. Administrators called police and put the school in lockdown as a precaution. The suspects ran into a greenway near Dearborn Park Elementary, which prompted another lockdown there. Police used a canine unit to track down 4 suspects and took them into custody. Meanwhile, in a separate incident, a 32-year-old woman was shot in Seattle's Dunlap area near 48th Avenue South and South Director Street shortly after noon. She was taken to Harborview Medical Center in serious condition. Now, this is someone who's obviously affected by a stray bullet. Seattle police say that the woman was shot after an argument with an ex-girlfriend. Oh, well, never mind. There you go. We're just getting shot up everywhere now. So, witnesses in the area described the suspect as a black female in her 20s with red hair and wearing a red shirt and blue pants. In Seattle's Detective Patrick Mickard. So, again, we have 2 in Seattle yesterday. 2 incidents where I guess an argument was taking place where a firearm was involved, and some people just can't handle their shit, or they've seen too many goddamn Hollywood movies where they think they can brandish their weapon and get their way listened. In Skyway, a woman was shot in the head while we're driving on Rainier Avenue south at around 11400 block Wednesday evening, and it is unknown where the shot came from. Her car crashed into another car. Deputies responded to the incident after 10 p.m. This sounds like the one that I was thinking about that was hit by a stray bullet. And usually when in incidents where stray bullets are landing in spots and vehicles and homes where people are getting actually hurt, usually that's gang-related activity. Usually, and I say usually because in incidents where a firearm is used for self-defense, usually it's a close-up interaction. There's a lot of hostility. There's usually a way that the argument has escalated. So therefore, you're not going to be running away. And if you're a firearms owner, and if you're a smart firearms owner, you know that an argument where the guy turns his back and takes off, you're not going to shoot him 20 times in the back, aiming your gun all sorts of places in the air. You're going to be somewhat admissive about it and how you use your firearm. So, we got a call for a car crash, Sergeant Abbott said. When we arrived, we found the female that had been shot and was deceased on the scene. She died from the gunshot wound. That's very unfortunate. In Burien, a 51-year-old woman known as a community leader was shot at 2:45 p.m. Wednesday. The woman was working at her desk at a chiropractic clinic at 152nd Street and 1st Avenue. Someone fired 11 shots from a moving car, targeting a 39-year-old man who's walking with his 15-year-old son, whom he had just picked up from school. The woman in the office was struck by a stray bullet. She was a community leader, and she's been a pestle to our community, Burien Mayor Jimmy Mata told Cairo 7. Mata knew the woman at the chiropractic clinic, where he was a patient for 20 years. The passenger sitting in the front side, he just reaches over out the window and the handgun, and he just starts unloading the gun, a witness told Cairo 7. Police responded to a call, shots fired in Des Moines Wednesday evening. The incident was reported on the 22400 block of Pacific Highway South. No injuries reported. Suspects fled to the area. So, and again, we got one in Snohomish County. 3 people were injured in 2 separate shootings in Snohomish County Wednesday evening. Moving on, a third shooting victim in Linwood was reported to police shortly after midnight. Police believe this incident is unrelated to the drive-by that happened a couple hours prior. A man was shot while looking for his dog near 173rd Place West and 60th Avenue West. Hold on one sec. Almost had a sneeze going. The man told police he was shot from a vehicle. He reportedly had a minor injury to his back and was taken to a local hospital. And again, another shooting was reported to Snohomish County deputies at 9:30 p.m. in Everett. 4 men got into an argument outside a mini mart in the 300 block of 100 Chelsea Street Southwest. A 22-year-old man was transported to Providence Regional Medical Center with serious, possible life-threatening injuries from a gunshot wound. Now, and don't get me wrong, I am not against guns. I carry a Glock 17 Gen 4 daily with 1 round chambered at 5 o'clock position, my blade tech holster right on my hip. And I actually, I'm gonna probably have to tell the story when I get back, but I actually myself was just arrested at gunpoint by police, and everything was okay, and I was like, yo, so we are over our commercial break. Let me take that break, and we'll get right back, and I'll finish what I'm telling you guys. Thanks for listening. Combat Systems at beescombatsystems.com. Protecting those who prepare. 801-987-0893 for custom body armor carriers and tactical gear for military, law enforcement, contractors, corporate security, responsible citizens, and border patrol. Bees Combat Systems at beescombatsystems.com. 801-987-0893. Look, you don't want to admit it, but you're getting old. You've got lower back pain, you've got upper back pain, you've got neck pain, you've got pain in places in your body that you can't reach. As an adult, you need to go and get your weekly massages. It doesn't always have to be weekly. It can be bi-weekly, it can be once a month. However, the point is you need to get your massages. Intuitive Touch by Amy Pope is a licensed massage practitioner that will make sure that she can alleviate your pain from your occupation and from your daily life. Check out Intuitive Massage by Amy Pope. Okay, welcome back. Thanks for listening to the commercials. Now, I left off telling you guys that I was just arrested about a week ago at gunpoint by police officers. So let me go ahead and break down what happened. I was driving my daughter home through Oak Brook here in Lakewood, Washington, back to her mother's house. And this gentleman in front of me, older gentleman, large Samoan guy, was doing 10 miles in a 25 mile per hour zone. So I gave him a courtesy honk when I finally came up behind him. And he slowed down even further, and it was a courtesy honk, not a loud brrr, it was a little beep. So he acknowledged me, decided to go a little bit slower. We came up on a crest that turned right, and I turned right. He kept moving forward, which the street allowed you to move forward, but once he saw I was shifting my vehicle right, he cut me off, literally nearly hitting the front of my vehicle, and stopped me in the middle of the street. His vehicle at an angle, mine on the street going straight. So, of course, this triggered me. I got out of my vehicle and I yelled at this guy. I said, "What the fuck is your problem?" Excuse my language for radio. "I have a child in my car. Don't you ever do under the speed limit. You are impeding traffic. You are breaking the law." And then he got out of his car. Took maybe 10 seconds. I'm not exaggerating that. I want you to imagine you're in a hostile moment and you just yelled at someone and they take 10 seconds to reply to you. I sat staring at this guy what felt like forever, and he finally said, "Don't you ever talk to me." He sounded so sloshed, so his words were so slurred. It was obviously he was intoxicated. And mind you, it was a Sunday. The Seahawks games were playing. They were on TV at that moment, so I'm not past the doubt that he was intoxicated. So I said, whatever. I literally turned around, got my vehicle, drove the rest of the road down, which is probably another 200, 300 feet. And he followed me to Amy's house, which is the mother of my children. And that's when I lost it. I started screaming and yelling, telling me to get the F out of that area. He doesn't belong there. He doesn't live there. And the whole time I've got a Glock 17 Gen 4 on my hip with a round chamber, and I don't carry no ballpoint 9mm ammunition. I carry Hydra Shocks and hollow points. So I'm ready to fuck some shit up if I have to, excuse my language. But so I quickly get my daughter in my left hand, I cross the street, and I get her in the front yard. I'm still yelling, so Amy has already opened the door, is curious to what's going on. I tell her to immediately call the police. This guy's already on the phone calling the police. He's talking shit while on the phone with the police, too, yelling things at me, yelling obscene obscenities. I get my daughters inside the house, and I stay outside in the front yard. I keep my 2 eyes on this guy and my hand on my hip near my weapon. And I'll tell you one thing about trained and untrained individuals when it comes to situations like this. If I know you have a gun, I'm fine with that. If we're arguing and I know you have a gun, I'm still going to be fine with that, because I'm going to at least have to trust in you not to pull out your firearm illegally on me and shoot me for some dumb reason. Now, when you're itching your finger or you're itching your hand to that area where your weapon is, you're checking to see if it's within reach. You're checking to make sure, that's not going to go down the way we want it to go down, especially if I can see it happening that way. And from my perspective, that shows to me that you're untrained. If you have to kind of feel for your weapon and make sure it's still there, make sure you can grab it if you need to, you have not trained enough. And if anything, you are brandishing to me that you're got an itchy trigger finger. So, and again, this is not what I displayed. I kept my hand firmly, my right hand firmly on my right hip. I carry it at a 5 o'clock position, so that means my gun is slightly right behind my right hip. It is actually right above my right butt cheek. So 5 o'clock, think about 6 o'clock being the square of your back. That's where I carry my Glock. It's the most comfortable spot. It's not exactly visible to the person in front of me, but I had also already turned around. He had seen this weapon. So he had called the cops. Amy had called the cops. We sat there for about maybe 5-10 minutes, and I said, you know what? This guy followed me once. I'll let him follow me again. I drove out of Oak Brook. The guy didn't follow me. I pulled out of Oak Brook as soon as I saw a police officer coming past me, and I went ahead and pulled over. Initiated that I understood that he was already on the call and that I'm aware of what's going on. He came up very far behind me, turned on his lights, pulled out his gun, said, will the driver of the vehicle put both hands out the window? And that's when we began. I smiled. I said, yes, sir, as loud as I could so he could hear me. I said, this is your standard protocol. For your safety, I understand. He said, we have a call about a road rage incident and a firearm being used. Just standard procedure. So waited for 2 more squad cars to pull up. They all had their guns out. I stepped out my vehicle when they told me to. I put my hands straight up in the air. I walked backwards. I laid on my stomach, put my hands straight out on the ground in front of me. They came up, put their knee in my back. I said, be careful. I have a round chambered. It's a Glock 17. It's a Blade Tech holster. And he said, I appreciate your concern. They put me in the back of the cop car. They took my ID. About 20 minutes of processing, they came back and they said, what's your side of the story? I'm going to read you your rights. I wasn't arrested. I had to make sure. They reminded me several times. All that good stuff. But the point of the story is they let me go. The guy refused to come out. The guy refused to press any charges. The guy I didn't do anything wrong. He hadn't done anything wrong. He technically refused to come out because he's inebriated. But regardless of the fact of the matter is, this is how police are dealt with. Like, if you catch an attitude, if you're not cooperative, it's going to end up in the wrong way for you. And of course, I have my rights, but I exactly knew what was going on. I was going to let them do what they needed to do, even if it meant forfeiting my weapon and letting them disarm me, because I knew I was still in the right. There's no reason for them to harm me. I have done nothing wrong. So bring that up because of the situation here in Washington State where we have 12 shootings or 8 shootings in a matter of 12 hours. It's kind of ridiculous. On a last note, we got about a minute left here. I do want to bring up, I've got some friends in the gun community who know Cody Wilson, the controversial individual behind the 3D printed guns. He's now being accused of sexual assault. If you read anything into this, it obviously sounds like a setup. Now, I don't know Cody personally. I've seen enough interviews with him, and I've seen enough information behind him where I kind of have developed an idea of what his personality might be like. I also have friends who work in interviews and documentaries in different media outlets, from like Alex Jones to whoever, who have interviewed with them, from Vice City, for example, who've interviewed them. And he's a very intellectual, very, very straightforward kind of individual. So he doesn't seem to be like someone who would get bored easily and go out to a strip club and do a bunch of cocaine and go fuck a hooker. He doesn't seem like someone who'd even, find himself on the internet getting caught talking to 14, 15, 16-year-olds. But supposedly he was on the internet on some site, sugar daddy sites. I even think that this information is doubtful, that this has kind of probably been made up in a way to pin it on him. Because if you think about it, Cody Wilson is a very important individual. He can be used for a lot of good, or he can be used for a lot of bad. If the wrong government got a hold of him, he'd be printing 3D guns for their militaries. But if the right government got a hold of him, for so and so and so forth. Point is, don't believe it for a minute. Do not let media develop a guilty decision in your mind. You got to play both judge, jury, trial, everything. You got to make sure that during this, when you read these articles, keep an open mind. Like I said, I'm going to have my doubts, and in my opinion, I'm going to stick up for this guy. I've seen enough of his work. There's no way this guy would throw away that kind of work for some pussy. Let's just get that straight. So it looks like we're coming up on the end of the show. I really wanted to talk about some more suspicious observers. I actually got a link for them pulled up. We're about 7.5 minutes in, so we're way past their show. But go ahead and comment on what you want to comment on. Tell me what you guys want to talk about next time. We had the current events come in. So we'll talk to you guys next time. We'll see you on Tuesday. You guys have a good weekend. Thank you.